Hello, good afternoon. Just make sure you are at the right place. Today, my session is about get ready for Android 16. Yep, right place, right? Are you ready? Yeah. If you are ready, why you are here to this session? Okay, let me introduce myself. I'm Funam, Developer Relations Engineer from Android DevWell in Google. I work on Android app capability, which means my job is to ensure the app in the world that you read, that you write, you make, are ready for the next version of Android. I'm based in Hong Kong. I'm based in London, but I was in Hong Kong last month. So if you see I'm still handshaking, it's not because I am first time on this stage, just because I've had too much coffee this morning. This is my first time in JoyCon Paris, but I think you may have met me virtually before. This is the Android Dev Summit YouTube video. Usually, I a bit different from the colleagues in other Android DevWell colleagues. They talk about those new features, Jetpack Compose, new function, Gen AI, etc. that make you exciting. I usually talk about the changes that may cause your app become broken, or you have to make code change to make your app ready for the next version. But please don't blame me. I'm not the engineer who makes those changes. I'm DevWell. I'm here to help you. And and that is something you could help. Is like subscribe, and share. So overview. Our Android 16 is coming where we are. It's a bit different from last year. Usually, when we launch a major release of Android, we usually launch in Q3 around the mid-autumn, that is September or October usually. But this year, we make some changes. We will first have the release 3 months earlier in Q2, this major release. Where is my cursor? This major release. And then in Q4, we will have a minor release to make a bit more API into the Android OS. And currently in Android 16, this is a bit outdated because I don't have time to update this diagram. I was having some OOO. But we are almost to the final release. My cursor, we are almost to the final release. At this point, we are calling a platform stability. What does it mean? Platform stability means at this stage, the Android should be mature, should be ready, and we will not break any more apps. If we find we make additional change or we make bug fix, but actually causing apps to be broken, we will revert the change. So that means for app developer, SDK developer, it is time for you to start targeting Android 16 to make your app ready for Android 16. You could, there is no more excuse say, hey, Android 16 is not mature, it's still unstable. Let's wait for the final release. No, it is almost final. We will, this is some guarantee we can make with the developer say, hey, if we find some change that broke the app, we will revert it. So this is really the time to make sure your app is ready. And during this time, when you launch or if you release it to the Google Play, only a very small portion of the user running Android 16 preview will be affected. But if you wait until Android 16 is public, that means when there is a bug in your app, you are not ready, but you release it, you will hit a big amount of users. So do it now, not later. Why we are going to have one more release in the year? Of course, you know deadline effect. When we are having one single release in the year, which means we try to put everything by that deadline, and that may or usually will have some quality drawback. So we make a more frequent release. That means we do not have to push by the deadline. We could deliver a higher quality of Android. And of course, we could make more changes in Android, making new APIs available. And lastly, is more aligned with the hardware launch. You know, those hardware manufacturers usually release device around Easter and then around Christmas. So if we adjust our release timeline, that also help them to release the flagship device with the latest version of Android. So I just said, oh, there will be also a minor release in Q4. How do we know if the device is running the minor release or like the major release? Of course, the minor release is not coming yet, but the API is ready. So if you use the build version SDK int full, yep, that means this API, you will be getting a different return value that help you to differentiate, is this a major release or is this a 0.1, 0.2, the minor release? Taking pictures? Okay, yep, and yep, we are at platform stability. That means actually we have some recommended actions for the developer. Yep, this is on the developer.enjoy.com. Yep, I don't spend time on, I will not spend much time on this, but please, yeah, this is really the time for you to start testing, to start targeting Android 16, to start to roll out to a small portion of users to get the real-world feedback. Yep, there are 3 different stages of targeting Android release. Stage 1 is during the DP and beta, yep, and phase 2 is when we release. Yep. Of course, I encourage everyone to do it by phase 1, but if there is some cases, yeah, phase 2 is not the best, but still better than phase 3. Phase 3 means the pay policy enforcement, which means normally, by August next year, you have to target Android 16. And if you don't, if you miss the deadline and you find a bug, there's no way for you to target an older version, which means you know it is not working, but you still have to publish it and affecting the user. So that is the worst case. Don't do it at phase 3. Yeah, do it at phase 1 if possible. Yeah, and yeah, that's because everything takes longer than you think. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I was in the US Embassy applying for the US visa because I want to go to the Google I/O. Yeah, the officer asked, hey, why you are going to US? I said, I work for Google. I'm going to present in the conference. What is your daily job? I'm that well. I promote neurology. Are you working with AI? Yeah. Should I answer yes or should I answer no to get my visa? I don't know. Yeah, I answered him, no, I'm actually going to be replaced by AI. Because like, oh, in Android 16, there are so many changes. Some are target instigated, some are not target instigated. But now everyone knows you could use Gemini to tell me, hey, help me to digest this page and tell me what are the important changes. And yeah, I am going to be replaced by AI. Yep. Yeah, you could ask Gemini. Yep. But then why I am here, because, well, the AI said, or the news said, oh, AI is going to be replaced so many things, but at least the performer or the artist is not going to be replaced. So I try to make my presentation fun. Yeah, so hope you enjoy the show. Yep, I need some feedback. Yep, so yeah, the main content, breaking changes. Yeah, I'm here to help you to be Android 16 ready. And the first one I would like to mention is about the art internal change. Art, the Android runtime. You know, in Android, we have the Android SDK, and we also have the Android source code. The Android source code have more method than the Android SDK. And a lot of developers try to achieve some functionality that is not available in the Android SDK by doing some research in the source code, say, hey, there is some method in the source code that help me to do such a function. However, those are our internal implementation. As a developer, you know, sometimes I have to rewrite my code to support more feature or to make it faster. So we may change our internal implementation randomly or today or tomorrow. If you are relying on the art internal structure or the AOSP source code, which means your app could be broken today or tomorrow when we make some changes. So please do not rely on these internal changes, internal interface. And art, the Android runtime, actually is a mainline module. What does it mean? It means, oh, actually the latest version of the Android runtime is not only publishing on the Android 16 devices. They will be available to more than 1 billion, almost 2 billion devices by Google Play System update. Why we are releasing these changes to older devices? Well, yeah, I know it will break some apps, but listen to me, there is something I must do. There's something art must do is we continue to improve the performance of the Android runtime. For example, the Compose app, if you compare the older Android runtime and the newer Android runtime, you will see the Compose app is running faster on the newer Android runtime. And in Android, we use Java as programming language, but Java is not a static version. They also have new version. They also have new API. And if we want to add this new API into Android, we must make some changes in the Android runtime. So that is something we must do with art. Yeah, currently we are here. Where's my cursor? Yeah, we are here. That is around 1.5 billions of devices are running the Android 15th Android runtime. And we expect by the end of this year, there will be almost 2 billion of devices running Android 16 Android runtime. And of course, yeah, we are going to support more Java feature and more like Java 21, Java 25 support. We are having garbage collector optimization to use less memory, less resources to make Android better, faster. That is something, I know if we make some changes in our internal implementation, apps will be broken, but there's no way we could avoid this. We have to make this change so Android could move forward. Another one is predictive back. It is less happening in developed country, but in Asia, I'm from Asia, a lot of apps, when you try to exit the app, they pop a dialog say, are you sure you want to exit? Yep. Please make sure you do the testing, because in Android 16, the predictive back will be on, or you have to opt out. Otherwise, you may be having some issue like, I'm having some gesture, but the gesture is not working. The next one is about edge to edge. Edge to edge. This was a change a few years ago, and it was in Android 15, right? Yep. In Android 15, we start to enforce edge to edge. But in Android 15, we still allow developer to opt out edge to edge. However, in Android 16, you could no longer opt out edge to edge. I have to mention this because I have seen so many cases. This is before and this is after, ideally. However, this is before. And if a developer did not handle it properly, there are some content will be overlapped by the system UI, the camera pinhole, or the navigation. There are still devices, or still many devices using three-button navigation, and I have seen cases like the login button is blocked by the three-button navigation, and the user could never log in. So make sure you test your app, test it with edge to edge, test it with the three-button navigation also. Ideally, your app will be not as nice as this one, but yes, please do enough testing. And other big changes in Android 16 is about orientation or aspect ratio restriction. There are still a lot of apps. If you run it on tablet, it will be letterbox saying, there is a black area on the left and right, or it will always in portrait mode, no matter how you rotate your tablet. It is not a good user experience. Not only tablet, we now have a foldable. Imagine, and you unfold it, the single app occupies the screen, only the middle part of the screen. It does not utilize the whole screen area. It's not useful. So in Android 16, a lot of parameters will become no operation. That means your app will be forced to be utilizing the whole screen. Like the screen orientation, it will be no op. The resizable activity will be no op also. In Android 16, first, it will be only affecting those devices with the smallest, shortest edge with 600 dp or above, and developer could still opt out, but in the next version of Android, the opt-out will not be available. So that means you have a little bit more than a year to adopt this change in Android 16. Yep. Yeah. If your app, or if you are writing a games, of course games usually have to load the orientation, so games will not be affected. But yep, if you are writing apps, yep, it will be affected. Another change in Android 16 is about local network protection. In Android, when we grant the internet permission to an app, actually the app could access internet at the same time. They could also access the intranet, the local area network. However, local area network means, or we have seen so many cases, the developer or the app developer is trying to fingerprint the device, say, oh, how many devices are in the local area network? What is the printer name? What are device name in the network? So they try to fingerprint the user. It harms the privacy and security. So very soon we will be adding restrictions, say your app, when you get the permission for internet access, you could only access internet. You will not be able to access local area network anymore. So make sure you do the testing from Android 16 beta 3. Yep, you will be allowed to test the local network protection by ADB command. You could read the detail on our developer.android.com. Yep, please do testing, yep, to make sure your app is not affected. And not only app, I've seen more cases is about SDK. Some developers are using some analytic SDK, and those SDK are not a good actor, they are bad actor. They collect so many sensitive information trying to fingerprint users. So make sure not only your app logic, not only your code, you test your whole app, including the underlying SDK. In Android 15, we introduced the 16K page support, and in Android 16, we enhance it, we provide compatibility mode. I'm not going to cover much because after this session, my colleague Yasin will be having another session on 16K page size, so this is a promotion of his session only. Yep, okay, so that's the end of part one. Yeah, that's those changes giving you pressure, giving you headache, giving you workload. But let's move to part two, improvement in new feature. Yep, that is something help you to make better Android application. Yep, for a long time, at the beginning of Android, if you still remember, yeah, a lot of apps ask for external storage permission or any kind of storage permission to read the photos. And a few years ago, we tried to have the scope storage access to separate the media, the pictures, and the other files in the system. And then we have the photo picker to let developers say, hey, I want to get a picture without asking for a media permission. That is something with photo picker. But still, a lot of developers say, hey, the photo picker is not as good as my custom implementation. So still a lot of apps are asking for the media permission and to use their own implementation of photo picker. And now we are making some improvement of the photo picker, and it supports more cloud provider. And also, again, yeah, this is powered by the Google Play update, so it will be available to device back to Android 4.4. So please try the new photo picker and to see if that already meets your need. If it is, then you could use less permission to put your user in a safe place. In Android, we support, for image, we support PNG and JPG at the beginning, but we also support so many modern image formats like AVIF or HEIF. And for video, other than H264, 265, we also support AV1. They are modern codec. Modern codec means we use a modern algorithm to do a higher compression rate to make the file size smaller with same or better quality. In the past, yeah, because of the processing power, we may not be able to use this difficult or like modern codec to encode our video or image. But now, or like for different versions of Android, we try to add more and more codec into our Android system. And in Android 16, we are also adding more video codec in it. May I ask a question? So, how many of you are using PNG and JPEG in your app? PNG, JPEG. Yep. How many of you are using WebP? Well, quite yeah, so many. AVIF, HEIF, still more than I expected. Yep, try to use this modern image format or modern video format that help you to save the bandwidth and also save the storage space of the local devices. And next one is about vertical text. Yeah, this is the picture I take in Tokyo. In Asia, there are still a lot of language that character is a block character and vertical text is common. And now in Android 16, we have new API to support the vertical text rendering. So if you are going global or you are doing a game, you want to have a scenes of Tokyo or in Asia, now it is easier for you to make this scenes. Yep. I love Tokyo. I don't know about Paris. This is my first time in Paris. Hope I may love Paris. Yep. Let's see what dinner I have today. And lastly, is about the adaptive refresh rate. For the screen monitor, since a few years ago, the hardware improvement, we now support different refresh rates. If the refresh rate is higher, which means the user will feel, oh, it is more smooth. If the refresh rate is lower, it helps to save the battery. And now we have the new API for you to know what refresh rate and how is support. And if you are using recycler view, yep, our internal implementation are already updated for you to utilize the adaptive refresh rate. So, yep, if you are not using recycler view, try it. And if you are using your custom implementation, also try this new API to provide a better a smooth user interface or to reduce the power usage on the device. Yep, tooling. Yep. It is difficult, I know it is difficult, I'm a developer, to adopt so many changes in Android 16. So we have been working with different teams to update our tools to help you to target Android 16 to make your app ready. The first one is SDK Upgrade Assistant. It's not, you could see, the latest one is only Android 15, not Android 16. Yeah, we are still working with the team to make it available as soon as possible. Trust me, we are working. In Android Studio, there's a tool called SDK Upgrade Assistant. It will scan your project, and then it will tell you, hey, which area or which lines of code you have to take care of and make the changes. And we also add different Android, different link check in the Android Studio. For example, this is the biggest one. In the past, you could just update the Gradle file, say, I'm going to target a higher SDK level. But now, if you just update the value, it will have a red line, it will have an error blocking you to build. Yep. And we have a very, very long message say, hey, usually if you update your SDK, please make sure you want the SDK upgrade, blah, 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 a long message, but yep, it's just try to make it difficult for you to just update the SDK value. Yep, you have to read it and try to go through the SDK assistant and try to use, analyze your code to see if there is potential breakage. Yep, there are just too many developers update the SDK version without updating their code. And if there is one, the link check will highlight it, a warning to you, and it will give you information. But I know there is something I have to change, but I do not know how to change. What should I do? So actually this morning, Yeah, this morning, in Paris, this mentioned about the Gemini in Android Studio. Actually, the Gemini in Android Studio is powerful. Yeah, if you highlight your code and you ask, hey, Gemini, help me to fix this code, yeah, it will give you this information. Yeah, help me fix the highlighted code. It will tell you, hey, this code, what are the problems and how you could fix it. Yeah, people say, yeah, if you can't beat them, join them. So I know I'm going to be replaced by AI, but if one day Gemini will rule the world, they know who will be contributing to Gemini. Yep, there are so many tools. Besides Android Studio, we also have the compatibility framework. What is this? Okay, in Android, there are so many changes in every Android release. And actually, so for most of the changes, there is a button for you to turn it on or turn it off. For example, the one that the code just highlights is about the illegal argument exception, about the thread mutable and immutable. So actually, if I just update the Target SDK version, there is a lot of change turned on or applies by default. However, if I want to debug or if I want to see, is this change or that change, I could use this compatibility framework to turn on or turn off one of the changes to help me to do the testing. Say, yeah, this one is about the pending intent explicit mutability required. Yeah, so I turn off this thread, and then my app will be working again. So I know, oh, is this change affecting my app, and I have to read the documentation. Why? And you say, oh, this is a long list, and there is no search button. How I could use this to? Sorry, yep. The search button is on the way. And currently, the workaround is using ADB command. You could use ADB command to say, ADB app compat enable a certain change or a certain change ID with your package name. And you could use the search function in the Google Chrome browser. Sorry, I know it's not optimal, but yep, the search function is coming on the way. You may say, okay, there's enough tuning for me to overcome the challenge, but how about testing? I don't have a Pixel device. Yeah, Pixel device is too expensive or is not available in my country. How do I do testing? Well, actually, it's not only Pixel. If you read the news, yeah, this is the recent news. Other OEMs like Xiaomi, they also have the Android 16 beta program on their devices. So just visit our website to know which manufacturer has also offered the Android 16 beta on their devices. And you say, oh, I also don't have a Xiaomi. What should I do? Well, we also have the Android device streaming, which means in the Android Studio, you could connect to our cloud device farm to virtually connect to a physical device to do the testing. There are so many devices on the Android device streaming, and recently we also add the Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Of course, the Pixel 9a is not there yet, but will be there soon. Yep, so that is some tools to help you to do the testing. Okay, so we have tools to help you to overcome the problem. We have tools to help you to do the testing. But still, we are human. Even Gemini will make mistakes. Human will also make mistakes. So there are still some protection for you. When you upload your app to Google Play Console, yeah, we launched it last year around I/O, and we make some enhancement around October. Now, when you upload your app package to the Google Play Console, yep, it will, before it's sent to review, yeah, we will have some machine to try to extract your code, to look into your code, say, hey, have you used some method that is deprecated, or have you updated your Target API level, Target SDK level without code change, or are you using an SDK that is deprecated or having issue that you should update to a new version. So there will be like a 15 minutes scanning in Google Play Console to scan your app. Yep, this is the protection number one. And if really there is some something wrong with your app package, yep, the Google Play Console will tell you, hey, we have found some issue. You are using this API, but this API you should supply an additional parameter and additional argument when you are targeting Android 16, please make the code change. Or, hey, you are using Firebase version 1.0, which is already too old and is not supported. Please update to the latest version, etc. In the preview check. But what if I am not updating my app? Will you also scan my current app in the Google Play Console? Yes. That is in the Android Google Play Vitals. Now, previously in Vitals, you could see, normally you will just see the ANR or crash statistics, but now this is also in Vital. You could see overall what issue or what problem the Google Play Console has found on your current submission and the past submission. This is the place, the single portal for you to understand your app. Is there any issue together with the ANR and the crash? So I hope this is something helpful to you. And of course, we want to improve, so we want to listen to feedback. If you want to provide feedback, the first thing you could do is to visit our issue checker. Yep, there are different categories like platform, SDK version, or Android Studio issue checker to submit different feedback. I say, oh, this is too troublesome for me. I have to go to the website and I submit an issue, and then it comes back say I have to attach a bug report. I submit it, and then it comes back again. I have to submit a screenshot. I submit again. It comes back again. Oh, it's just take too long. Actually, yep. If you are using the Android 16 beta or DP or beta, there is an app in your phone. It's called Android Beta Feedback. Use this app. It will help you to capture the bug report, help you to capture the screen, help you to capture the video and attach it in the bug. So it helps us to process. And lastly, as about feature requests, as I mentioned very early about the Android runtime, I know there are really some developers trying to use the Android internal implementation or Android source code, not our Android SDK, to do some function to have some functionality that is not available in the Android SDK. Please let us know. Please submit a feature request so we could make a new API in the Android SDK. So, and if it is in an Android SDK, we guarantee, yep, it will be compatible in the future version of Android. Otherwise, we just don't know how many users are using our internal implementation, and we may break it today or tomorrow. Okay, and finally, yeah, happy coding, and hope you enjoy my session, and yeah, hope you enjoy Android 16 also. And I have some time for Q&A. Yeah, if you have questions, please raise your hand, and I will try to answer it. Yeah. Yeah. If no one is asking questions, that means next year you will be talking with Gemini, not phone.
So thanks for the talk. I would like to ask, what's the difference between these two releases this year compared to something like 8 and 8.1? So I think we've seen this happening before, but what's the difference this time?
Okay, let me go back. Okay, if you remember in Android 12, we first launched Android 12, and then we have a version called Android 12L, which means we add some additional API for tablet or for large screen at that time. So this year, this major and minor release is similar. We try to put all the breaking changes in the major release in Q2, and in Q4, we are going to add some new API into the system. We will try to minimize the number of breaking change in the minor version, but that is the philosophy. Say, if we just have one release in the year, that means the device launched later this year will not have new API, they may not have new improvements. So we try to first launch something, and then for something additional, we will deliver in the Q4 version, Q4 release. Am I doing better than Gemini? Okay.
Small question. So you showed that for Android 16, there's going to be some changes to the orientation APIs and how apps are going to have to behave. From what you showed, they're going to be specifically for devices that have a width larger than 600 dp. Is there something that's going to happen also for devices smaller than that in the future, or will normal phone form factors still be able to force some orientation?
Well, let me put it this way. So the philosophy we are making this change is like we are seeing a lot of apps when they run on the large screen, they are in like a compatibility mode or a letterboxing or a fixed orientation mode, which the user of the large screen, the tablet or foldable, they would not enjoy using it. Or if you imagine, we also support multitasking on those devices, but if it is letterbox, it is also hard for you to do the multitasking. And first, we will be doing this on larger screen device, that is like the 600 dp. You ask about what about the rest of the device. At this point, I would say we don't know yet. We will see what are the feedback, what are the apps, how they are actually behave, or like, yeah, we make this change. Let's see how the apps we add, and we decide the further action. So, to TLDR, there is nothing I could share at this moment, but yep, we do have some planning, but we just don't know will we going to launch or will we not going to launch. Okay, if there is no more question, or if there is some question you don't want to ask publicly, yeah, we have office hour, and please come to our office hour to ask questions. We are here, and my colleagues are here in the office hour also to help you. Thank you.